Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be doing my BEA / BookCon book haul. I actually just got home from BookCon like 10 minutes ago and I'm already filming because I am literally like that excited about all of the books that I was able to pick up this year. And I was like, I just want to like talk about these and like share them and like get this up so that I can like tell other people about them. So I was like, I need to film like immediately. Like I didn't even come in and take a shower or anything. Like I just was like, okay, just set up and film. But before I show you all of the books that I got, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who came up to me and introduced yourselves and told me that you watch my videos. It was so nice for me to like be able to meet some of you in person and to like have conversations with you. Like it meant so much to me, and like, just thank you. I had such a great time at BEA and BookCon this year. I have to say, like, in the 6+ years that I've been going, this is by far the best BEA BookCon that I have ever been to in my life. I just feel like I got to see so many people that I really love. Everything seemed to like work out really nicely with getting books, and the first 2 days on the show floor were BEA or Book Expo, and it was like much calmer this year than it had been in years past. It seemed like a lot of people were like just more like polite in general. There was a lot less fighting over arcs, which I've seen in the past, so that was like so great to see. There wasn't very much running except for when people were trying to get Stephanie Perkins's book, which fortunately I got before the drop, so I didn't have to like be part of that. But it was just overall like a phenomenal convention. But I'm gonna stop talking about that now because I have so many books to show you. I literally have a giant suitcase next to me that is just full of books. I had to take all of my clothes that I had packed out of the suitcase and put those in the tote bags that I got at BEA in order to get everything home in a way that was like the least inconvenient for Andrew because he was the one carrying the suitcase of books. So, okay, here we go. The first set of books that I want to talk about are the Penguin Teen Game Changers books. These are all coming out in, I think, September. I don't think it flows over into October, but so each week in September there is another book that's coming out that's going to be like a game changer in that genre. And there are like really exciting ones in here. I got to go to the Penguin Teen breakfast this morning. I got to meet each of the authors, hear them talk more about their work, and it was honestly like amazing. That was one of my favorite events of the entire convention. But I'll show you the books that I got. They also they came in these fun this fun box set, and then they slide out of these. So the first book that I have to show you is Warcross, which comes out on September 12th. If you can tell, I already started reading this book because that's how much I could not wait. Alexa from Alexa Loves Books has just been like raving about this book nonstop. And it's about video games and like a hacker in the video game world whose avatar becomes an overnight sensation, and she gets offered a job in Tokyo. I did not realize that the majority of this book takes place in Tokyo, so that is another like huge selling point for me. And it's just all about like what she's doing in the game, and it's kind of like people have compared it to Ready Player One. Like if you liked that, you would like this. And it's totally different though, because the main character is like a bounty hunter and her job is to find people that are breaking the rules in the game. So it's not just like the same story that you've heard before. It's like something totally new, and so far it is amazing. And also part of the reason that I wanted to film this video so early is so that I can get back to reading this, because I honestly think that I'm gonna finish it this weekend because it is that good so far. And I'm only on chapter like 5 or 6 or something, and oh, it's so good. The next book that I have in here is Jane Unlimited by Kristen Kishore. And so when I read the Goodreads description of this book, I've read it like several times, and I still was like, I still don't totally get what this book is about. But after hearing Kristen explain it, and also it's like so shiny. After hearing Kristen explain it, I got way more interested in it. So this is what she said, which I think will make a lot more sense to people who have read the Goodreads description and been like, I still don't know what this is about. So it follows this girl who goes to this like strange place, and everything is just like off. She said that like people there are commenting on her past, meanwhile they don't know her at all, and like everything just seems like a little bit weird. And there's a dog or like an animal that is like really not liking her. So like things are just like off, but then it's also kind of like a choose your own adventure book. So after she goes to this world, like there's one thing that happens, and then there are like 5 different paths that this character can take. If she goes like with the housekeeper or something, then she has this one storyline that is like a fantasy novel. And then if she does this other thing, she has like a sci-fi timeline. And then another thing is like a horror timeline. And like, I think the last one is a contemporary timeline. Or no, it's like a historical timeline. I can't remember which one it was. But you have to read all of them because there's, you know, pieces to the story. I believe it has kind of an open-ish ending, but she said that you get to know the main character enough that you can kind of tell which is the timeline that actually happened. And part of her inspiration for this book is because she was saying that, you know, like when you meet someone that you love, like you can take all these different timelines, but then it's also like, what are you missing out on by having taken this timeline as opposed to another timeline? So that got me like way more excited for this book. This one comes out on September 19th. Next, I have There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. This is one of my most anticipated because I love Stephanie Perkins. It was really cool to hear her talk about this. She was just saying how she like really loves horror, but she has a really soft spot for like the slasher type fics like Scream that are more like self-aware and there's humor to them, even though there's also like a lot of death. And she essentially said that this is like Anna and the French Kiss with a lot of murder. So it's still gonna be like all of those cute characters that you know and love from Stephanie Perkins, just a lot of them will probably die. So it sounds like it's gonna be really good. And she said that they even intentionally like designed the cover this way so that it kind of like reflected Anna, but in a way where you knew like that this is going to be scary. She said that she would never push horror on anyone because, you know, you never know what anyone else has been through and what someone's triggers are. But she said that it's not that scary. It really is like more of a contemporary book. But if you don't think you can handle it, then, you know, don't read it. But if you are interested in it, but you're like kind of afraid, then you should probably just take the chance because you will probably enjoy it. And this one comes out on September 26th. Then I have Things I'm Seeing Without You by Peter Bugnani. And I was actually lucky enough to announce this book as part of the Game Changers on my blog. This is a contemporary novel. It honestly reminds me of like something in the vein of like Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl or like a John Green book, because it follows a main character who has this romance going with someone that she meets online, and then he commits suicide, and she has a really rough time like dealing with that because it's weird because like when you are talking to someone online, you really only see like what they portray of themselves, but there obviously could be all of these other things that you don't necessarily know about them. So she's trying to cope with that, and she moves in with her father, who is kind of like estranged from her, and he runs this like very unconventional funeral home. So she is trying to like cope with death and grief and like the loss of this person that she loved. Meanwhile, her father is trying to like make money off of death, essentially. And I say that it's an unconventional place because he said that like the kinds of things that he does is like he will take the ashes of someone who died and put them in like fireworks. And one of like the big funerals that they take on is for like a very famous racehorse. But he said that it is really funny. He was like, it does deal like a lot with death, but it's also funny. Like, don't think that it's gonna be just sad. Like, he was like, it's a funny book about death. So it definitely sounds like it's gonna be interesting, and I am really looking forward to reading this one. And this one comes out on October 3rd, Mean Girls Day. And then I finally have Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow, and this is her debut novel. This series is actually currently, because we asked about it, it's currently a duology. The first book is written by a character that is inspired by the Evil Queen, and it's an Asian fantasy. It sounds so cool. I talked more about it in my like books that I was looking forward to video, so you can find like more of a synopsis there. But the second book is going to be from like the Snow White character's point of view, and she said that the third book is still kind of up in the air about what it's going to be. It might be set in the same world, but like deal with a different character, like a companion novel. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. And she also said that the finished copies of this are going to have that like beautiful soft cover. So I'm really looking forward to getting a finished copy when this one comes out. out, which is on October 10th of 2017. And this is the last book that I have to show you as part of the Game Changers, and then I'm going to show you everything that I got on the floor. I'm going to try to go through things a little bit quickly because I spent a lot of time on just those 5 books, but I feel like I knew a lot about them, so I really wanted to like highlight those ones. So anyway, here's the rest of the haul. I got this Harry Potter sampler from Scholastic. It has a couple of the illustrations that are going to be in the new book. I love it. I mean, you guys know what a huge Harry Potter fan I am, and I've just been dying for this 3rd one because the 3rd one is my favorite book. We have Snape there. And once it comes out, I will definitely be doing another video about like my favorite illustrations in it because I did that for the first 2 and I really enjoy those. So that will be coming soon. Then I have Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. This was absolutely my most anticipated book of all of BEA. I am so glad that I got this one, and the way that it worked out was like amazing. I went to the Little Brown booth and I asked them if they had any of them because I was like, I'm really interested in this one. And I knew that Carrie was doing a signing soon. I just figured I would like ask first to like see if they had them. And it just so happened that she was in the booth. So they got me one of the ARCs from the back, they brought it out to me, and then I got to like sit and talk to Carrie for a little while about the book, about how excited I am for the book. And I also got Alexa to order Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is the first book, so she should be reading that soon. But I'm so excited about this one. This is the 2nd book in the series, so I don't want to say really anything about it, but it is a historical fiction story, but it's like a very accessible one. It's not like difficult to get into the language, and it's very action-packed. It's really fun. It's horror, but it's not like scary. It's more like thriller. And then obviously it deals with these iconic like monsters in history. So the first one was Jack the Ripper, and now this one is Dracula. Then I have the Language of Thorns sampler by Leigh Bardugo, which is quite possibly the nicest ARC I've ever seen in my life. This is all like raised, so it feels really nice when you touch it, but there's like a bunch of illustrations that are in here. There's a fox. I'm gonna pull up like one of the big ones because I can only imagine how amazing the final copy of this book is gonna be, because just this is like gorgeous. And it was so much fun. I actually got to like tell Leigh how much I loved Crooked Kingdom and Wyland and just the gorgeousness of this sampler, because she was at the Macmillan party, which was super awesome. I love this one. I just cannot wait for this to come out. Oh my gosh. Then also completely unexpected, but one of like the most exciting things that I picked up is Top 10 by Katie Cotugno. This book was not at BEA as an ARC like drop or anything, but Alexa and I went to the Owl Crate booth, and they had this wheel that you could spin, and once you like spun it, it would land on a book and you were able to get an ARC. So I did that. I got a book that I wasn't interested in, so I didn't end up taking it, but then Alexa spun and she landed upon Top 10, which she knows I am like dying for because Katie Cotugno is my favorite contemporary author. So she was like, okay, you can have it, like, because she just knows how much I wanted this. So thank you so much, Alexa, because that just like made my life. Like, I'm so excited that I get to read this one early. Then I got All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater, and this is another one that I talked about in my most anticipated books video, so you can find out more about it there. But this one is from Scholastic, and it's coming out on October 10th. And then these are the 2 books that I got at BookCon. This is actually the main reason that I went to BookCon, was because I really wanted an Enchantment of Ravens. If you think that this artwork looks familiar, it probably does, because the artist on this cover is Charlie Bowater, who did the A Court of Thorns and Roses artwork, and like the coloring book and everything. So first of all, it's gorgeous. So that initially like pulled me in, but then when I read the synopsis, I was like, oh, yes, because it also involves fairy courts. I love like anything with fairies. But so it follows this girl who is an artist, and her clients are the fair folk, and they can't create anything without turning to dust, so they hire her to like paint things for them. She paints like lots and lots of things, and then one day she paints Rook, who is the prince of the Autumn Court, but the way that she paints him is very human, and he has like lots of like regret and sorrow in his eyes, and he is furious about this. So he kidnaps Isabel, he takes her to the autumn court so that she can stand trial for her crime, because that was like not okay, like showing him being weak. But when he does that, like something is wrong in the world of Fae, and then the autumn court ends up being attacked from like every side that you can imagine, and the two of them have to rely on each other to get through it, and then there's a romance that's starting to form, and it just sounds like it's gonna be so good, like such a good fantasy. This one's coming out from Simon & Schuster, and it comes out in September of 2017. And then the last one that I got is one that I was not expecting. It's Haunting the Deep by Adriana Mather. Adriana Mather wrote How to Hang a Witch, and this is her second book. It sounds really good, and from what I've heard, she's really good at creating like a creepy atmosphere, so I think this is going to be pretty amazing. But it follows this girl named Sam who is having all of these dreams about the Titanic, and it just seems like the Titanic is like calling to her every single night in her dreams, and then it starts haunting her waking life as well. Like she gets invited to this Titanic themed dance, and then the ghost of one of the men that died in the Titanic starts appearing before her. And it says that the Titanic is like beckoning to her, and its call is getting harder and harder to resist. And then it says the descendants, who are her former enemies, now turn out to be her allies, and they help try to break this curse of the Titanic like calling to her. But it seems like the Titanic might be repeating its tragic voyage. So it sounds like it's gonna be a thriller, and it's really cool that it involves the Titanic, because I feel like there haven't been really like any books about that, so it's an interesting topic to explore. And this one comes out in October of 2017. Then I got The Bells by Danielle Clayton, and this is another one that I talked about in that most anticipated video. I'm really looking forward to this one. I really love the cover. I just think it's like absolutely beautiful, and this one doesn't come out until 2018, and it doesn't even have like an exact date. It's just February of 2018, and it's actually like a lot thicker than I was expecting. This book's almost 500 pages, which I was shocked about, but I can't wait to read it. And even the back of the book is really pretty. I like how it has this like fleur-de-lis going on there. Another one in my top 10 video was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I cannot wait. Like, everyone that has read it already is saying that this is their favorite book of hers, and that it is so messed up, so dark, so twisted. They were like the two characters in here will be your forever OTP. Like, especially if you like really like messed up relationships, like I know there's a lot of fans of like The Darkling, so it sounds like it's going to be like that, but like times a million. So I'm pretty excited about this, and this one I got at a signing, so I actually got Holly to sign it for me. It says to Kristen from Holly Black, and she is adorable. She was wearing like mermaid looking lipstick, and I was just like, you're the cutest person ever. But I think I might actually start this one when I finish Warcross, because I just can't wait. Another book that I'm like really excited about that wasn't really on my radar before is Invictus by Ryan Groden. This book is pitched as Doctor Who meets Firefly, so I'm like really looking forward to it. But even better, the premise is that it follows a crew of time-traveling thieves. So they go back to like all of these different time periods and steal things from the past to sell them like on the black market. One of the first things that they're going to steal is something that is on the Titanic. It's this like really rare book, and it was said to be like a cursed book, and the one that was on the Titanic was actually the second copy of it, because the first copy like burned in a fire, so that's why it was said to be cursed. And then they finally like found a seller for it, and they were shipping it to America on the Titanic, which didn't work out well, obviously. But all of the characters in this sound amazing. There is one girl that has this like different color hair. She changes it all the time. I went to like the novel brunch, and I got to hear Ryan talk a lot about the book, and that got me really excited. But we also got to do these puzzles, and the character that was on my puzzle was amazing looking. I posted a photo of her on my Instagram. She had different color hair, and she has a red panda, and the red panda is actually part of their crew. She's just like obsessed with red pandas, so as soon as they like got this job as being part of the crew, she convinced them that they needed to go back in time and steal a red panda, and they were like, okay. So they're just traveling with one now. But it also sounds really unique because It's set in a world where time travel is like commonplace, like all of like the things that people watch, like instead of watching like movies set in the past, like people actually go back and like film the actual events going on, and like people watch like live streams of the events in history like actually happening. So it just sounds really different and really interesting, and anything that is going to have a cast that is like as close as the Firefly crew has my attention. And this one is coming out in September of this year, so you don't even have to wait too long to read it. Then I have Fireblood by Ellie Blake, and this one is the second book in the Frostblood trilogy. So I actually get to see the cover for the last one too, and that is also really beautiful. But apparently it took Ellie like 5 years or something like that to write her first book, and then it became a New York Times bestseller. And then she had to write this one in like not that much time. And it was actually really nice because Frostblood came out last January, and now Fireblood is coming out in September. So instead of having to wait an entire year between books, they decided to publish these a little bit quicker. So we're getting the second book in September, which is like really nice because I feel like that never happens. So it follows a girl who lives in a world where there are people that have like fire powers, and then there's people that have ice powers, and it's a fantasy world. And I believe there's like a war that breaks out between the two of them, and I can't say much more about the sequel because I haven't read the first one, so I didn't want to spoil myself for the events of the second one. Then I have another book that I was not planning on getting at BEA, but Owl Crate once again saved the day. It is Lucky in Love by Casey West. This one's coming out really soon. It's coming out on July 25th, and I'm so excited. I just love Casey West's books so much, so I was like thrilled that they were doing a drop of this. The cover is really adorable, and then the back is also really adorable. Like, how could you not want that? And the spine is also really adorable. It definitely looks like this one is published to match the like P.S. I Like You cover. So I'm glad that Scholastic is doing these and doing them in hardcover, because her books used to only come out in paperback, which was sad because they're so good. But this one follows a girl who wins the lottery, and then she kind of needs to like figure out who in her life actually likes her for her, as opposed to who is only interested in her for this like newfound money that she came upon. And it's Casey West, so there's going to be a wonderful love story. The next book that I have to show you is Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody, and this book actually wasn't on my radar until I was like, wow, that's such a beautiful purple cover. So I looked a little bit further into it, and then also look at these gorgeous tents. It takes place, as soon as I heard the word circus, I was like, sold, I'm in. But it follows this main character who lives in this like really interesting world, and she has all of these illusions about things, but then all of a sudden her illusions start getting murdered, and she has to figure out how like these people that don't exist are getting murdered, because maybe they really do exist. But it sounds like it's gonna be really, really exciting. It's supposed to be very dark. This one is also coming out pretty soon on July 25th, the same day as the Casey West book. So I definitely recommend looking into this. I'll probably read this sooner than I was planning on because a circus, but also didn't realize it was coming out so soon. The next book that I have to show you is Unearthed. This is by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. Their most recent book that you probably have heard a ton about was Hunted, which was the Beauty and the Beast retelling, but now this one's gonna be completely different. It is a sci-fi book. So it follows two girls who are trying to uncode these messages that Earth received from aliens. It's obviously a sci-fi novel, and it sounds like it's gonna be really good. It's actually shorter than I was expecting. It's like 320 something pages, I believe, but Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner have both written like really great books, so I'm very confident that I'm gonna end up loving this one. But sadly, this book does not come out until January of 2018. Then I got the novelization of Mean Girls by Mikhail Osto, because how could I not? And I think that we all know what Mean Girls is about. The next one that I have to show you is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. And this is one that I was really looking forward to. This was also in my video of like the top 10 books that I was looking for. And this is a fantasy novel. It's being published by Flatiron, who their huge book last year was Caraval. So I have a lot of faith that this is going to be amazing, but I just love it. It's like a dark fantasy that is inspired by like fairy tales. So the main character, Alice, has a grandmother who is the author of this like really dark fantasy world. She's written like a ton of books in this series. I think it's called Hinterworld. And her grandmother dies, and then Alice's mother mysteriously gets stolen into Hinterland, which is the dark fantasy world that exists in her grandmother's books. So Alice has to try and like get her mother back. And it just sounds like it's going to be like incredible. And I did not realize, I didn't make the connection until last night when I followed Melissa Albert on Twitter, but she writes so much for the Barnes & Noble teen blog. So I like read her blog posts all the time. And I was like, I can't believe that this is the same person. I was really excited about that. But I'm like just super anticipating this one, and I can't wait to read it. I actually think this might be the third book that I read after Cruel Prince. Then they were also giving out finished copies of The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, which is the first book in his Dark Materials series. But the reason that they were giving it out is because there's an excerpt that is in it that is from The Book of Dust, which is the new book that Philip Pullman is publishing in this Equal series. It also came with like a limited edition print from The Book of Dust, which is really pretty. It's covered in words. And yeah, Book of Dust is coming out in the fall of this year. The next book that I have to show you is Gunslinger Girl by Lindsay Ellie. This is her debut novel, and it sounds really good. It takes place in like a Western fantasy-ish world. So what happens is there's a second civil war that breaks out in the United States, and the like North and the South are once again like fractured, or is it the East and the West? You know what? It doesn't say. So there's a civil war, and the United States gets like fractured into separate areas. And this girl is like the sharpest shooter in this like Western land. So it's just like a very like lawless land that she's living in. And because she is like the best shooter, she gets offered to be like famous and have like a life of luxury, even though this is like one of the most corrupt cities in the United States currently. So it's all about her like dealing with that, and it says that the story will haunt you long after the final bullet is shot. And this one comes out on January 2nd of 2018. This is another one that I did not have on my radar at all, but I was so excited when I found out about it. First of all, let's just admire the perfection that is this cover. It looks like an old school horror VHS tape. The colors in it are incredible. They actually got an artist that worked on a lot of like these kinds of videotapes in the 80s to draw the cover for this book. It's called My Best Friend's Exorcism. It's by Grady Hendrix, who you might know because he wrote Horror Store, which is that like novel that is a horror story about like kind of like being in an IKEA. It was really, really good, really clever. So if you haven't read that, check that out. But this one, I'm just so excited about, and I just love this cover. So it's supposed to be really funny too. So it's another one of those like horror type, funny slasher type books, but the blurb on the front says that it is written as if The Exorcist was written by Tina Fey instead. So it's essentially like an exorcism book, but it's like really funny. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm so glad that I was able to snag a copy of this because I didn't know about it, and I'm still just in awe over this beautiful cover. And if I know Quirk Books, the final copy will be even better because they honestly make probably the best designed books of like any company. I mean, just looking at Geekerella and the Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy and like the way that those books look without covers, like they're so perfect, and they're so perfect for the book. So it's really, really nice to have a publisher that puts that much time into each title. I feel like I'm gonna end up loving this one. I mean, even the back has like the girl running from someone in the woods, and like it has staff pick as if this was like in Blockbuster or something. It doesn't have a date on it, so I'm gonna have to get back to you with that, but it looks so good. The next book that I have to show you is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardoust, I think. This book is another like really dark fairy tale retelling. It sounds really, really interesting. So it follows a 15-year-old girl named Lynette who looks exactly like her mother. And then she finds out that the reason that is because this magician created her out of snow to look exactly like the dead queen. Her mother was the queen because her father like requested that this magician do this. And she has a stepmother named Mina, and that is like the mother that she grew up knowing, and she's always like loved her and she wants to be a lot like her. And her father ends up appointing Lynette to take over the territory that Mina rules over, and then Mina starts hating Lynette because she just like took over what she was supposed to be doing. So Lynette has to kind of figure out like who she is and who she wants to be and whether she should side with her father or if she should try to like win back Mina's love. And this comes out in September of 2017. Nearing the end, guys. There's not too much more, thankfully. The next book that I have to show you is Adam Silvera's new book, They Both Die at the End, and I think that is pretty self-explanatory. One thing that I will say about this is that I really love the cover. It has like the New York skyline, but it has the new building there, if you can see it. I've never seen any books yet that show that building in it, and it's like essentially like the building that you see no matter where you're standing in New York, so that was really cool. Then I have Moxie by Jennifer Matthew. But this book follows a girl who unintentionally starts a feminist revolution at her high school. So it sounds really cool. I mean, even the cover is awesome, and the word Moxie is kind of like perfect for the title. And this one comes out in September of 2017. Then I have Beasts Made of Night by Tochi Onibuchi. Definitely butchered that name, and I am so very sorry. I honestly know nothing about this book except that it is blurbed by Stephanie Garber, so there you go. And this one actually comes out on Halloween of this year. Not too many more to share, thankfully. This next book you will probably be familiar with already. It is The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. This is her new middle grade novel that's being published by Disney, and this one comes out in September of 2017. The ARC actually came with this cover, but this is the official cover, so they give us like a magnet of it. You know what? I read the synopsis of this a while ago, and I can't totally remember what it was about, but I remember thinking that it was interesting. I remember loving this fox, because I am quite the fan of foxes. The thing is, I normally don't read very much middle grade, but it's Alexandra Bracken, so I'm gonna try. Then I have Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore, and Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, again, she just loves this author and she thinks that I would too, so I was like, okay, I will definitely pick this up then. So I'm really excited to read it. It sounds like a lot of her books are like magical realism type things. So it follows this family who, if they fall in love, like if any of the women fall in love too deeply, the man will disappear. And then after like generations of all of these vanishings, there's a strange boy that just appears in their garden. And he's not only a mystery to the girls, but he's also a mystery to himself. He doesn't know who he is or where he came from or why he's there or anything. So it's going to be all about like uncovering that truth. Then I have The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. And this is a graphic novel. The artwork in it is amazing. This main character here with the pink hair looks so much like Chi from Chobits to me. But let me just show you, like, so pretty. So I was really looking forward to this one. I'm very glad that I got it. So it follows this girl who finds a tea dragon, and then she like learns all about the history of like caretaking for tea dragons, and she becomes friends with the ward that keeps like track of all of them. So there are like a ton of different tea dragons in the story, and each dragon is based on like a different kind of tea. There were also really adorable bookmarks that they gave out, and I got all of them. They said that we could take them. I didn't just like go nuts, but they each depict like one of the 8 dragons, and it's just so pretty, and I feel like I'm really gonna love this, and it's really short. It just looks like beautifully done. Then I have Sourdough by Robin Sloan. I don't even know if you can see the cover because it's looking very washed out in my viewfinder. So if you don't know, Robin Sloan wrote Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, but it's been quite a while since that book has come out. So when I found out that he was coming out with a new book, I was like, yes, I definitely need to read that because I loved Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. This one is called Sourdough, and it essentially does for the like restaurant industry what Penumbra's did for like the book industry, like bookstores and book worlds, and this one is like set in the restaurant world. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. This is an adult book, it's not a YA book, just so you are aware, but I just really loved his writing, so I was definitely looking forward to checking out the new one. So I also got a sampler of Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is not the full arc. I talked about this book in my like top 10 that I was looking forward to, not realizing that it wasn't going to be the full book, that it was going to be a sampler. The full arcs I think are going to be going out like later on in the year, but if you want to find out more about this story, you can look at my last video. Then I got The Unlikelies by Carrie Firestone, and this one follows a group of kids who are all like kind of internet famous, and they are all about like doing good deeds for other people. So they like kind of meet together and they create this like anonymous society where their whole mission is just doing good deeds for other people. Apparently it goes along the lines of how like no good deed goes unpunished. So they're trying to help someone who I believe is a heroin addict and things are not going very well. So I'm interested to see like how that will be resolved. And this one actually comes out soon too. This one comes out in June, so it comes out this month. It might even come out next week, come to think of it. Then I have Clicked by Tamara Ireland Stone. I'm not sure if this one is middle grade or if it is YA, but I know, I mean, just based off of the cover, I know that it is about like social media and stuff, so it sounds like it's going to be interesting. A lot of people loved Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, which I have not yet read and I need to, but I was excited to check this one out because it sounds interesting. And this one comes out in September. And then the last book that I have to show you is a really funny one. It is American Drifter by Heather Graham and Chad Michael Murray. I got this book for my sister-in-law Molly, who is obsessed with Chad Michael Murray. She like goes to One Tree Hill conventions because that is how much she loves him. He was there, he was signing books and stuff, so I actually got to like go and meet him. I got to take a photo with him. It was so cool. Like, high school Kristen would have just died at meeting Lucas from One Tree Hill because I also was like obsessed with that show when I was younger. And also A Cinderella Story, like, But this is a thriller novel. It says that it's an exhilarating tale of love and murder. I'm honestly not interested in reading it. I just wanted to get the book for Molly and to meet Chad Michael Murray. So that's why I have this one. And that's everything, finally. The stack of books next to me is up to here on me, and I had to put it out of frame because that's how tall it is. I have so many books here. I'm going to be reading forever, which I am not complaining about, like, in the slightest. So let me know any books that I mentioned that you are really excited to read. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this video because it's really long, just judging from how long I've been filming for. So sorry, but books. Again, thank you if you came up to me at BookCon because it was really nice meeting you. And I hope that you guys are just doing well, having fun, reading things. So that's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!